limousine as Gerald, her driver of 5 years, gripped her wrist with surprising urgency. His kind eyes, usually warm and gentle, were filled with something she had never seen before, fear mixed with desperate determination. "Miss Simone, please," he whispered, his voice shaking. "Get in the boot. No, don't ask questions. Just trust me one more time." Simone's perfectly styled curls, arranged by an expensive stylist just an hour ago, brushed against her bare shoulders as she stared at Gerald in confusion. Outside the hotel, 200 guests waited for her arrival at the ceremony. Inside her chest, her heart hammered against her ribs. "Gerald, what are you talking about? I'm getting married in 20 minutes. Julian is waiting." "That's exactly why you need to hide," Gerald interrupted, something breaking in his voice. He opened the trunk with shaking hands. "Please, Miss Simone. 5 years I've driven you everywhere. Have I ever steered you wrong?" The memory of Gerald teaching her to drive when her father was too busy flooded back. Gerald attending her college graduation when her parents were overseas. Gerald bringing her soup when she had the flu last winter. She looked at his weathered face, saw the tears gathering in his eyes, and made a decision that would change everything. She climbed into the spacious trunk, her dress bunching around her. Gerald's hands were gentle as he helped arrange her skirt so the door could close. The lid came down, leaving her in dim light filtered through the gap he left open for air. Her $50,000 dress pressed against her body. Her heart felt like it might explode. Then she heard voices approaching the car. "Is everything ready?" Julian's voice. Her groom. The man she'd been dating for 18 months. The man who'd proposed on a beach in Maldives 6 months ago. The man who'd held her during her father's funeral 3 months back and whispered that he'd take care of her forever. "Relax, Julian." A woman's voice. Smooth. Confident. Definitely not one of the bridesmaids. "The trust fund transfers to her name completely once you're married. Then it's just a matter of time. Veronica, she's not stupid. We have to be careful." Julian's voice was different. Colder. Calculating. Nothing like the warm tone he used when he called her baby or my love. "She's a trusting fool who thinks you're her soulmate," Veronica laughed. Honestly, this was almost too easy. $8 million just sitting there, and she's so desperate for love after her daddy died that she can't see what's right in front of her face. Inside the trunk, Simone's hand flew to her mouth to stifle a gasp. Her diamond engagement ring, 3 carats, princess cut, caught the dim light. "Just remember the plan," Julian continued. "Married for at least 6 months to avoid suspicion. I'll transfer funds gradually to the offshore accounts. By the time anyone notices, we'll be in the Caymans." "What about the prenup her lawyer wanted?" Veronica asked. "I convinced her we didn't need one. Told her I loved her for her, not her money." Julian's laugh was sharp and cruel. "She actually cried and said I was different from everyone else who only wanted her trust fund." "You're a terrible person," Veronica said, but she was laughing. "That's why I love you." The sound of kissing made Simone's stomach turn. Her hand pressed harder against her mouth. Behind her eyes, tears gathered and fell, streaking her makeup down her cheeks. "We should go," Julian said. "Can't keep my bride waiting." God, the look on her face when she sees me at the altar. She has no idea she's marrying her worst mistake. Their footsteps faded. The car rocked slightly as they must have walked past it. Simone lay in the darkness of the trunk, her wedding dress a white prison around her body, and felt her entire world collapse. Gerald opened the trunk minutes or hours later, she couldn't tell. Time had stopped meaning anything. He helped her out with gentle hands, his face streaked with tears. "I'm so sorry, Miss Simone. I heard them talking yesterday when I drove Mr. Julian to his office. I've been trying to figure out how to tell you without you thinking I was jealous or lying." Simone stood on shaking legs. Through the hotel windows she could see guests milling around, checking their watches. The ceremony was supposed to start 10 minutes ago. The string quartet would be playing. Her mother would be dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. Julian's parents would be beaming with pride at their son marrying into old money. "Miss Simone, we need to go. You need to leave. I'll drive you anywhere." "No," Simone heard herself say. Her voice sounded strange, distant, like it belonged to someone else. "Take me to the ceremony." Gerald's eyes widened. "Miss Simone, you can't marry him. You heard what they said." "I heard everything," Simone replied. She pulled out her phone with trembling fingers and opened the voice recorder app. "And I'm going to make sure everyone else hears it too. But first, I need to finish getting ready for my wedding." She looked at Gerald's confused face and felt something cold and hard settle in her chest where her heart used to be. "Gerald, do you trust me?" Always, Miss Simone. Then drive me to my wedding. Because Julian thinks he's about to marry a fool. She wiped the tears from her face, straightened her dress and smiled. It felt like ice on her lips. He has no idea he's about to marry his worst nightmare. Architected emotional narrative arc for wedding chapter progression. Good start. Now chapter 2, Simone goes through with the wedding while secretly planning. Need to show her emotional state, her performance, and the beginning of her strategic thinking. Simone sat in the bride's preparation room, her hands steady as she repaired her makeup. The face staring back from the mirror looked like a stranger, eyes bright with unshed tears, jaw set with determination, lips painted the perfect shade of rose. She had spent 30 minutes alone after Gerald dropped her at the side entrance, breathing deeply and making decisions that would alter the course of her life. The door burst open. Her mother, Patricia, swept in wearing a champagne-colored dress and worry lines. "Simone, where have you been? The guests are restless." Julian is pacing at the altar. "What happened?" "Cold feet," Simone lied smoothly. The words tasted bitter. "Just needed a moment." Her mother's face softened. She crossed the room and took Simone's hands. "Darling, every bride gets nervous. But Julian is wonderful. He loves you. You're doing the right thing." Simone looked at her mother's face, the woman who'd raised her in privilege, who taught her to be kind and trusting, who'd never prepared her for the reality that some people wore masks. "I know, Mom. I'm ready now." The ceremony passed in a blur of lies. Simone walked down the aisle on her uncle's arm, her father 3 months dead and unable to give her away. The guests stood and sighed at her beauty. The flowers, white roses and peonies, smelled too sweet. The music swelled. And there at the altar stood Julian. He looked perfect. Tall, handsome, with dark hair and green eyes that had first caught her attention at a charity gala 18 months ago. He wore a custom tuxedo. His smile was brilliant as he watched her approach. To everyone watching, he looked like a man in love. Simone saw him differently now. She saw the calculation behind his eyes. The way he assessed her diamond necklace, a family heirloom worth $200,000. The slight impatience in his posture, like a hunter waiting for prey to walk into a trap. She reached the altar. Julian took her hand. His palm was warm and dry. "You look beautiful," he whispered. "I'm the luckiest man alive." "Thank you," she replied, her voice steady. Inside her small clutch purse, her phone was recording everything. The minister began the ceremony. Simone barely heard the words. She was thinking about the conversation in the car. $8 million. Offshore accounts. The Caymans. 18 months of lies compressed into minutes of overhead truth. "Do you, Simone Marie Henderson, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Everyone watched her. 200 pairs of eyes. Her mother was crying. Julian's mother held a handkerchief to her face. Friends from college leaned forward in their seats. Julian squeezed her hand, his expression perfect, loving, hopeful, slightly nervous in the way grooms should be. "I do," Simone said clearly. The minister turned to Julian. "And do you, Julian Christopher Foster, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do," Julian said. He was smiling so widely. He thought he'd won. "Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." Julian pulled her close. His kiss was gentle, romantic, exactly what a first married kiss should be. The guests erupted in applause. Rice flew through the air as they walked back down the aisle. Cameras flashed. Someone released white doves. It was everything Simone had dreamed about since she was a little girl. It was all a performance on top of a nightmare. The reception was held in the hotel ballroom. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. The 5-tier cake stood in the corner. A live band played. Simone danced with Julian for their first dance as husband and wife, his arms around her waist, her head on his shoulder, and felt absolutely nothing. "I can't believe you're finally mine," Julian whispered in her ear. "Mrs. Foster. It sounds perfect." "It does," Simone agreed. She kept her last name actually. Henderson was her father's legacy. But she didn't correct him. During dinner, she excused herself to the bathroom. Instead of going there, she slipped into a quiet hallway and called her father's lawyer, Richard Thompson. He'd been managing her trust fund since her father's death. "Richard, it's Simone. I need to see you first thing Monday morning. It's urgent." "Simone? Aren't you supposed to be at your wedding?" "I am. I'm married. That's why I need to see you. I need to discuss protecting my assets." There was a pause. Richard had been her father's friend for 30 years. He understood the weight of that silence. "Monday. Am. My office." Thank you. She ended the call and returned to the reception. The rest of the evening continued. Toasts were made. Julian's best man told stories about their college days, all lies Simone realized now, carefully crafted to make Julian seem like a good man. Her maid of honor, her college roommate Bethany, cried while talking about how perfect they were together. Simone cut the cake, threw the bouquet, danced with her uncle, smiled until her face hurt. And through it all she watched Julian. Really watched him for the first time without the filter of love. She saw how he checked his watch repeatedly. How he whispered to someone on his phone during a quiet moment. How his eyes followed a blonde woman in a red dress, Veronica, Simone realized. She'd crashed the wedding and was pretending to be a distant relative. The audacity was almost impressive. Near midnight, Julian led her to the limousine decorated with "Just Married" signs. Gerald was driving, his eyes meeting Simone's in the rearview mirror with a question. She gave him the smallest nod. "Ready for our honeymoon, Mrs. Foster?" Julian asked as they pulled away from the hotel. They were flying to Bora Bora in the morning. 2 weeks in an overwater bungalow. Julian had insisted on planning everything himself. Now Simone understood why. He needed time to start accessing her accounts without her family nearby. "I can't wait," she replied, resting her head on his shoulder. Julian's phone buzzed. He glanced at it quickly, then put it away. But not before Simone saw the name on the screen. Veronica. The message preview read, "Phase 1 complete. See you in." Julian had deleted it before she could read more. He kissed the top of her head. "I love you so much." "I love you too," Simone said. The lies were getting easier. Soon they'd be second nature. Because she wasn't just going to divorce Julian. She wasn't just going to expose him. She was going to destroy every plan he'd made, recover every stolen dollar, and make sure he never hurt another woman again. But first she needed to play the perfect bride. The overwater bungalow in Bora Bora looked like paradise. Crystal blue water surrounded the private deck. The bed was covered in rose petals. Champagne chilled in a bucket. Julian carried Simone over the threshold with a laugh, setting her down gently before pulling her into a kiss. 2 weeks of just us, he said, his hands on her waist. No work. No interruptions. Just enjoying being married. "It's perfect," Simone replied. She meant the setting, not the company. That night, while Julian slept beside her, Simone lay awake and stared at the ceiling fan spinning slowly overhead. The man next to her had planned to steal $8 million from her. Had probably been planning it since the moment they met. Every kiss, every "I love you," every romantic gesture had been calculated. Her phone glowed in the darkness. She'd been texting Richard Thompson, sending him everything she'd recorded during the wedding. His response was immediate. "This is fraud. Possibly worse. I'm bringing in a criminal attorney. Don't let him access anything." Too late, Simone thought bitterly. Julian already had joint access to her checking account. Something he'd convinced her was what married couples do. She'd added him 3 days before the wedding. She opened her banking app quietly. Her checking account had $50,000 in it usually. Now it had $30,000. She checked the transaction history. Yesterday, while she was getting her hair done for the wedding, Julian had withdrawn $20,000 in cash. Her hands shook as she screenshotted the evidence. The next morning, Julian was attentive and loving. He ordered breakfast to the bungalow, fed her fruit, told her she was beautiful. Every word felt like poison. "I need to make a quick call," he said after breakfast. "Some business thing that can't wait. I'll be just a few minutes." He stepped onto the deck. Through the window, Simone watched him pace while talking on his phone. She couldn't hear the words, but his body language was tense. Urgent. While he was distracted, she went through his luggage. It felt wrong, invasive, until she remembered what he'd done to her. In the side pocket of his suitcase, she found a second phone. A burner, probably. She photographed the number on the back, then carefully returned it to exactly where she'd found it. His wallet was next. Behind his credit cards, she found a piece of paper with account numbers and passwords written in his handwriting. Her heart raced as she photographed everything. When Julian returned, she was lying on the bed reading a novel. "Everything okay?" she asked innocently. "Perfect," he said, joining her on the bed. "Just boring work stuff. Let's not think about it anymore." They spent the day snorkeling. Julian was playful, romantic. He held her hand. Took selfies with her that he posted on social media with captions about being the happiest man alive. Made love to her that night with what seemed like genuine passion. Simone performed her part perfectly. The loving newlywed. The trusting wife. Inside, she was documenting everything, building her case piece by piece. On day 3, while Julian was at the hotel spa, Simone used the business center to video call Richard Thompson and a woman named Diane Porter, the criminal attorney Richard had brought in. "Simone, what you've sent us is serious," Diane said. She was in her 50s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense manner. "This isn't just planning to commit fraud. He's already committed fraud by withdrawing that money. What do I do?" Simone asked. "First, we freeze everything," Richard said. "I'm calling the bank today. We're removing his access to all your accounts. Your trust fund is still protected, I made sure of that, but we need to lock down everything else." "Won't he notice?" Simone asked. "Let him," Diane replied. "Better to stop the bleeding now than wait. But I need you to do something difficult. I need you to keep gathering evidence. We need to know his full plan. Who else is involved? Where the money was going. Can you do that?" Simone thought about the blonde woman at her wedding. Veronica, the partner in crime. "There's a woman," she said. "I overheard them together. She's helping him. Give me her name. Everything you can find." Diane leaned forward. "Simone, I've handled cases like this before. These people are professionals. They've likely done this to others. If we can prove a pattern, the charges become much more serious." "Others?" The word landed like a stone in her stomach. "Probably. Men like Julian don't usually start with $8 million. They work their way up. We need to find his previous victims." After the call, Simone returned to the bungalow. Julian was back from the spa, relaxed and smiling. "There you are. I was about to send a search party. Just went for a walk on the beach," she lied. That night, while Julian slept, she went through his burner phone. He'd been careless, leaving it in the bathroom. The messages told her everything. "Veronica, when do we move the big money?" "Julian, after the honeymoon. She trusts me completely. It'll be easy." "Veronica, just like the others?" "Julian, Gabrielle was $2 million. Naomi was $3.5 million. This one is the biggest score yet." Simone's hands shook so badly she almost dropped the phone. Gabrielle, Naomi, 2 other women, 2 other victims. She photographed every message, every contact, every piece of evidence she could find. Then she carefully returned the phone and climbed back into bed beside the man who destroyed her life. The rest of the honeymoon passed in a haze. Julian was the perfect husband. Simone was the perfect actress. They took sunset cruises and went to fancy dinners and made love like newlyweds should. And every night, Simone sent new evidence to Diane Porter. On their last evening in Bora Bora, Julian opened a bottle of expensive wine. "To us," he said, raising his glass. "To our future together." "To the future," Simone echoed. She clinked her glass against his and smiled. He had no idea his future was about to become a prison cell. The plane touched down in San Francisco on a gray Monday morning. Simone had never been so happy to see fog and cold weather. Bora Bora had been beautiful and suffocating in equal measure. "Home sweet home," Julian said, squeezing her hand as they walked through the airport. Back to real life. Real life meant returning to their penthouse apartment in Pacific Heights, Julian's place that Simone had moved into after the engagement. She'd sold her own apartment downtown, another decision she now regretted. While Julian unpacked, Simone excused herself for a coffee run. Instead, she drove straight to Richard Thompson's office in the financial district. The conference room held 3 people: Richard, Diane Porter, and a private investigator named Frank Morrison. He was in his 60s, former FBI, with a kind face that had seen too much. "Gabrielle Chen and Naomi Williams," Frank said, pushing 2 folders across the table. "Julian Foster's previous victims. Both wealthy women. Both thought they were in love. Both lost significant amounts of money before they figured out what was happening." Simone opened the first folder. Gabrielle Chen stared back at her from a photo, a beautiful woman in her early 30s with long dark hair. What happened to her? Julian dated her for a year. Proposed. 2 months after their engagement, he convinced her to invest in a fake business opportunity. She gave him $2 million. He disappeared. Changed his name slightly, he was Julian Fox back then, and moved to a new city. Did she report him? She tried. But he'd covered his tracks well. The business was registered properly. The contracts looked legitimate. By the time police investigated, the money was gone and he'd vanished. No criminal charges were ever filed. Simone opened the second folder. Naomi Williams was blonde and smiling in her photo. And her? Similar story, but he'd refined his method. He actually married Naomi. Stayed married for 4 months. then filed for divorce claiming irreconcilable differences. But during those 4 months, he'd emptied several of her investment accounts, $3.5 million total. She sued for fraud, but by then the money was offshore. The civil case is still pending. Where are they now? Simone asked. Gabrielle lives in Seattle. She's a software engineer. She's rebuilding her life but is still paying off debt from the incident. Naomi is in Portland. She runs a small bakery. She lost most of her family money but managed to hold on to enough to start over. Simone looked at their faces. 2 women. 2 lives destroyed. 2 survivors who tried to warn the world about Julian Foster, but no one had listened. I want to meet them, she said. Diane nodded. I thought you might. But first, we need to talk about what we found when we dug into Julian's finances. Richard opened his laptop and turned it to face her. Your husband has 7 different bank accounts under various names. We tracked them through the information you provided. In total, he currently has about $4 million spread across these accounts. $4 million. Simone's voice was faint. Money from Gabrielle and Naomi, plus earnings from other schemes we're still tracking. He's been running cons for at least 5 years. You're the biggest target but not the only recent one. There are at least 3 other women we've identified who lost smaller amounts, between $50,000 and $200,000 each. Why haven't they reported him? Shame. Fear. In some cases he threatened them. Made them believe they'd be in legal trouble too if they went to the police. Diane's voice was hard. Men like Julian are experts at manipulation. They know exactly who to target and how to make them feel complicit. Frank slid another document across the table. This is where it gets interesting. Veronica Blake, that's the woman you overheard. She's been working with Julian for at least 3 years. She helps him identify targets. Rich women who are vulnerable, recently divorced, recently bereaved, lonely. She befriends them, learns about their finances, then introduces them to Julian. How did they find me? Simone asked, though she knew the answer. Your father's funeral. Veronica was there, posing as a family friend. She and Julian had researched you for months. They knew about your trust fund. Knew you just lost your father. Knew you were vulnerable. The memory hit her like a punch. A blonde woman at the funeral, expressing sympathy. Mentioning a charity gala the following week. Suggesting Simone should attend, that it might help to be around people. And at that gala she'd met Julian. She set me up, Simone whispered. From the beginning, Richard confirmed. This was all planned. Simone sat back in her chair. The enormity of it threatened to overwhelm her. For a moment she let herself feel it, the anger, the betrayal, the violation. Then she pushed it down and focused on what mattered. What do we need to make a criminal case? More evidence of fraud. Proof that he's already accessed your accounts illegally. Documentation of his pattern of behavior. Diane counted on her fingers. And ideally, we need him to incriminate himself further. The recordings you have are good, but a defense attorney will argue they're out of context. What if I confronted him? Simone asked. Recorded the conversation? Too dangerous, Frank said immediately. If he suspects, he could disappear. Or worse. Worse. Men like Julian don't like loose ends. You're not just a victim now, you're a witness. The words hung in the air. Simone thought about the man she'd slept next to for the past 2 weeks. The man who'd touched her gently and whispered sweet lies. The same man who'd destroyed at least 6 women's lives and was planning to destroy hers. Then what do I do? You keep playing the loving wife, Diane said. But we limit his access to your money. Watch him panic. Watch him make mistakes. And we build an airtight case while he thinks he's still in control. Richard pulled up a document. I've already frozen your major accounts. He can't access your trust fund. It's in a separate trust that requires both our signatures to touch. But your checking account, your investment accounts, he's locked out as of this morning. He'll notice. Let him. Tell him it's a bank error. String him along. Every day we buy is another day we gather evidence. Simone nodded slowly. She thought about returning to the apartment where Julian waited. Thought about pretending everything was fine. When can I meet Gabrielle and Naomi? This weekend, Frank said. I'll arrange it. They both want to help. And Veronica? We're tracking her. She has an apartment in North Beach. Works as a freelance marketing consultant, or that's her cover. Really, she's scouting new marks for Julian. Diane closed her folder. Simone, I know this is a lot, but you're doing the right thing. These people need to be stopped. Simone stood. She was wearing a simple dress and flats, her wedding rings heavy on her finger. I need to get back before he gets suspicious. She drove home through midday traffic. The penthouse was quiet when she entered. Julian was on the phone in his office, door closed. She could hear his voice tense, urgent, but not the words. She went to the bedroom and changed clothes. When she looked in the mirror, she saw a stranger. A woman who'd been married for less than 3 weeks. A woman who was living with a criminal. A woman who was about to bring down the man she thought she loved. Her phone buzzed. A text from Diane, "Stay strong. You're not alone." Simone deleted the message and went to make dinner. When Julian emerged from his office an hour later, she greeted him with a smile and a kiss. "How was your day?" she asked. "Fine. Busy." He seemed distracted. "Yours?" "I went shopping. Had lunch with Bethany. The usual." The lies came easily now. That night, Julian tried to access their joint checking account from his laptop. She watched from the corner of her eye as he frowned at the screen. Tried again. Swore softly. "Everything okay?" she asked innocently. "The bank's website is acting weird. I can't log in." "That's strange. I'll call them tomorrow." He looked at her carefully. "You don't think? I mean, there's no problem with the account, right?" "Why would there be?" "No reason." But his smile didn't reach his eyes. Simone returned to her book. Inside, she was counting the hours until the weekend when she'd meet the women whose lives Julian had destroyed. The women who would help her destroy him right back. Saturday morning arrived wrapped in San Francisco fog. Simone told Julian she was spending the day with Bethany, spa appointments and shopping. He barely looked up from his laptop, distracted by whatever schemes he was planning. Instead, she drove north to Sausalito. Frank Morrison had rented a small house overlooking the bay for the meeting. When she pulled into the driveway, her hands were shaking. Frank opened the door. "They're both here. Take your time." The living room held 2 women. The first stood by the window, Gabrielle Chin, even more striking in person than in her photo. She wore jeans and a sweater, her long hair pulled back. The second sat on the couch, Naomi Williams, blonde and petite with careful eyes. "Simone," Gabrielle said softly. "Hi." The word felt inadequate. They stared at each other for a moment. Then Naomi stood and crossed the room. Without a word, she hugged Simone tightly. Gabrielle joined them. 3 women who'd never met, holding each other in shared pain. When they finally separated, they were all crying. "I'm so sorry," Simone said. "I should have been more careful. I should have." "Don't," Gabrielle interrupted gently. "That's what he wants us to think. That it's our fault. But it's not. It's his." They sat together on the couch. Frank brought coffee and then disappeared into another room, giving them privacy. "Tell me everything," Simone said. Gabrielle went first. Her story was painfully familiar. Meeting Julian at a tech conference 3 years ago. His charm. His attentiveness. The whirlwind romance. He knew exactly what to say. "I just gotten out of a bad relationship. I was lonely. He made me feel special." "Me too," Naomi added. "My divorce had just been finalized. Julian came into my life like a rescue. Looking back, the timing was too perfect." "That's Veronica's job," Simone said. She explained what she'd learned, how Veronica scouted vulnerable wealthy women and set them up. "There was a woman," Gabrielle said slowly, "at the tech conference. She introduced us. I never thought. God, I never connected it." "Same here," Naomi said. "A blonde woman at my gym. We became friends. She suggested I attend a charity fundraiser where I met Julian." She closed her eyes. "They've been doing this together the whole time." Gabrielle pulled out her phone. "After he disappeared with my money, I hired my own investigator. I didn't have much left, but I needed to know. Look at this." She showed them a document, a timeline of Julian's movements over the past 5 years. Different cities. Different names. Dozens of women. Not all of them lost money, Gabrielle explained. Some he dated briefly and moved on when he realized they weren't wealthy enough. Others he scammed for smaller amounts. But there are at least 10 women we can prove lost significant money. 10? Simone felt sick. That we can prove. There are probably more who never reported it. Naomi opened her laptop. "I've been tracking him too. When the civil case started, I became obsessed. I found 3 of his other victims online. Started a private forum where we could share information." She turned the screen towards Simone. It showed a private website, simple, anonymous. Julian Foster / Julian Fox / Julian Forrester, names of a con artist, read the header. Below were testimonials from women across the country. Amanda in Chicago lost $150,000. Tessa in Denver lost $80,000. Brittany in Phoenix lost $200,000. Naomi scrolled through the posts. They're all the same story. Whirlwind romance. Promises of forever. Then the money disappears and so does he. We tried to press charges, Gabrielle said. All of us. But he's smart. The businesses he sets up are technically legal. The marriages are real. The access to accounts is given willingly. Proving fraud is almost impossible. But we have proof now, Simone said. She pulled out her phone and played the recording from the car trunk. Julian and Veronica's voices filled the room. Both women went pale. You recorded this? Gabrielle whispered. My driver overheard them. He warned me just in time. Simone's voice shook. I've been gathering evidence since then. His burner phone. Financial records. Everything. This changes everything, Naomi said. She was crying again. This is actual proof of conspiracy to commit fraud. This could put them away. Diane Porter thinks so too. Simone explained about the criminal case being built. The investigation into Julian's finances. The plan to catch him in the act. How can we help? Gabrielle asked immediately. Testify. Share your evidence. Show the pattern. Simone looked at both of them. Diane says if we can prove he's done this multiple times, the charges become much more serious. I'll testify, Gabrielle said without hesitation. Me too, Naomi added. I've been waiting 3 years for a chance to make him pay. Frank returned with Diane Porter. I thought you might want legal counsel here, he said. Diane sat down and looked at the three women. Here's what I propose. We build a RICO case, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. Julian and Veronica aren't just committing individual frauds. They're running a criminal enterprise. That carries much heavier penalties. What do you need from us? Gabrielle asked. Everything. Financial records. Communications. Testimony about their methods. We need to show this is organized crime, not just bad relationships. They worked for hours. Gabrielle and Naomi pulled up files on their laptops. Bank statements. Emails from Julian. Receipts for things he'd bought with their money. Screenshots of text messages. Simone added her evidence. The recordings. The photos of Julian's second phone. The account numbers. By late afternoon they had a document that was devastating. 10 victims. Over $8 million stolen. 3 years of criminal activity. And clear proof that Julian Foster and Veronica Blake were working together. This is strong, Diane said finally. Very strong. But we need more. We need to catch them in the act with Simone. Then let's do it, Simone said. What's the plan? You go home. Act normal. When Julian tries to access your money and can't, he'll panic. He'll contact Veronica. They'll make plans. Diane leaned forward. And when they do, we'll be listening. You want to wiretap them? Naomi asked. Already working on the warrant. But more than that, we want Simone to confront him. Wear a wire. Get him to admit everything on tape. That's dangerous, Gabrielle said. It is, Frank agreed. Which is why we'll have officers nearby. But it's the fastest way to get a confession that will hold up in court. Simone thought about it. Thought about returning to the penthouse and pretending to be the loving wife while Julian plotted against her. Thought about the risk. Then she thought about Gabrielle's determined face and Naomi's tears and the 8 other women whose stories were on that website. I'll do it, she said. Simone, Gabrielle started. He's still doing this. Right now he's probably looking for his next victim. If we don't stop him, there will be an 11th woman. A 12th. More. She looked at Diane. How long until you can get the warrant? A week. Maybe less. Then we have a week to catch him. Simone stood. What do I do until then? Be careful, Diane said. Don't give him any reason to suspect. And if at any point you feel unsafe, you call me immediately. Before Simone left, Naomi hugged her again. You're braver than I was. You survived, Simone replied. That's pretty brave. We all survived, Gabrielle added. And now we fight back. Driving home, Simone felt different. Lighter somehow, despite the weight of what was coming. She wasn't alone anymore. She had allies. She had evidence. She had a plan. When she entered the penthouse, Julian was pacing in the living room, his phone pressed to his ear. He looked stressed. I don't know what happened. The bank says there's a freeze on all the accounts. Yes, I tried. He saw her and ended the call quickly. Hey, how was shopping? Great. I got the cutest dress. She held up shopping bags, props she'd bought quickly on the way home. "How was your day?" "Fine." He kissed her cheek, but his mind was elsewhere. "Hey, did you ever call the bank about that login issue?" "Oh no, I completely forgot. I'll do it Monday." "Maybe you should do it now. I tried to transfer some money for a business thing and I'm locked out of everything." "It's Saturday evening. They're probably closed. I'll call first thing Monday morning." "Is it urgent?" "No. No, it's fine." But his jaw was tight. That night, Julian barely touched his dinner. He kept checking his phone. Around midnight, Simone pretended to be asleep when he slipped out of bed and went to his office. She heard his voice through the door, angry, desperate. She pulled out her own phone and texted Diane. "He knows. He's panicking." The response came immediately. "Good. Let him panic. Judge is reviewing the warrant Monday. We move soon." Simone put her phone away and stared at the ceiling. In less than a week, her life would change again. Julian would be arrested. The truth would come out. Her perfect wedding would be revealed as a sham. But 10 women would get justice. And no more women would become victims. That had to be worth everything she'd lost. The warrant came through on Wednesday morning. Diane called at 8 a.m. while Simone was making coffee in the penthouse kitchen. Julian had already left for a meeting, probably with Veronica, plotting their next move. "It's time," Diane said. "Are you ready?" Simone's hand shook as she set down her mug. "Yes. Frank will be there in an hour to wire you. We've got permission to monitor all of Julian's phones and computers. The plan is simple: confront him tonight when he gets home. Get him to admit what he's been doing. What if he doesn't? He will. He's desperate now. You've been stringing him along about the bank errors for 5 days. He knows something is wrong. He'll either come clean to try to manipulate you, or he'll slip up trying to explain things away." Frank Morrison arrived at 9 carrying a large briefcase. He swept the apartment for bugs. Julian had been paranoid, apparently, but found nothing. Then he fitted Simone with a wire so small and sophisticated she could barely feel it. "This records everything," he explained, adjusting the tiny microphone hidden in her necklace. "We'll be listening from a van outside. If anything goes wrong, if you feel unsafe at all, you say the phrase, 'I need some air,' and we come in immediately. Understand?" "I understand. You're sure you want to do this?" Frank's kind eyes were concerned. "Once we start, there's no going back." Simone thought about Gabrielle and Naomi. About the 8 other women on the website. About whoever Julian and Veronica were targeting next. "I'm sure." Frank left. Simone spent the day cleaning the apartment, nervous energy that needed an outlet. She scrubbed bathrooms and organized closets and tried not to think about what was coming. At 5 p.m. she started making dinner. Pasta carbonara, Julian's favorite. The irony wasn't lost on her. Her last home-cooked meal for her husband would be the meal that helped send him to prison. Julian came home at 6:30. He looked exhausted, his shirt rumpled, his tie loose. "Something smells good. Your favorite." She kissed his cheek. The wire felt heavy against her collarbone, though she knew it weighed almost nothing. "Rough day?" "You could say that." He poured himself a large whiskey. "Did you ever get that bank situation sorted out?" "Actually, I need to talk to you about that." His eyes sharpened. "What do you mean?" "Let's eat first. Then we'll talk." Dinner was tense. Julian barely ate. He kept checking his phone. Simone pushed food around her plate and tried to seem calm while her heart hammered. Finally, she set down her fork. The bank didn't make an error. Julian went very still. "What?" "The accounts. Being frozen." "It wasn't an error." She looked directly at him. "Richard Thompson froze them. On my instruction." "I don't understand. Why would you do that?" "Because I know, Julian." The words felt like liberation and terror mixed together. "I know everything." The silence stretched. Julian's face went through several emotions: confusion, fear, calculation. "Know what?" "About Veronica. About your plan. About Gabrielle and Naomi and all the others." Simone's voice was steady. "I know you never loved me. That this was all a con. That you were going to steal my money and disappear." Julian's face drained of color. Then he laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "Who told you that?" "Simone, someone is lying to you." "I heard you. On our wedding day. You and Veronica were talking in the parking lot." She pulled out her phone and played the recording. Their voices filled the room. $8 million. Offshore accounts. The Caymans. Julian stared at the phone like it was a weapon. When the recording ended, he slumped back in his chair. For a long moment he said nothing. Then, "It's not what you think." Then explain it to me. Veronica, she's my ex-girlfriend. We dated years ago. She's been harassing me, threatening to ruin our marriage. The lies came quickly now, desperately. That conversation wasn't real. She was trying to make it seem like we were planning something, but I was just playing along to keep her calm until I could get a restraining order. Stop. Simone's voice cut through his excuses. I know about Gabrielle Chen. I know about Naomi Williams. I've talked to them, Julian. I know everything. His face changed. The mask of the loving husband cracked and fell away. What remained was cold and calculating. So you've been playing detective. I've been protecting myself. By spying on me? By freezing our accounts. He stood up, pacing. That's my money too now. We're married. That's how marriage works. We've been married for 3 weeks. And it's not your money. It's mine. You really think you're so smart, don't you? Julian's voice turned sharp. Poor little rich girl, thinking she's figured it all out. I know you've stolen from at least 10 women. I know Veronica helps you identify targets. I know you've been planning this since before we met. Prove it. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Oh wait, you can't. Because I haven't done anything illegal. So I dated wealthy women. So some of them gave me money. That's not a crime. Fraud is a crime. Identity theft is a crime. Conspiracy to commit both is a crime. Julian laughed again. You don't have proof of any of that. You have a recording taken out of context and some bitter ex-girlfriends making accusations. No court will convict me on that. Actually, they will. Simone stood up too. Because I have your second phone. I have copies of every message between you and Veronica. I have your financial records showing the offshore accounts. And I have testimony from multiple victims showing a pattern. For the first time, genuine fear crossed Julian's face. You went through my things? Just like you went through my life. My finances. My future. She stepped closer. How much were you planning to take? The full 8 million. He was silent. Come on, Julian. You're caught. The least you can do is tell me the truth. Fine. He poured himself another whiskey and downed it. Fine. You want the truth? Yes, I was going to take the money. Not all of it at once, that would be too obvious. But over a year or two I would have drained every account. And yes, Veronica helps me. She's good at finding targets. Say that again, Simone said quietly. What? What you just said. About the money. Say it again clearly. Julian seemed to realize his mistake. I'm not saying anything else. You already said enough. She pulled the wire from her necklace and held it up. Every word recorded. Including your confession just now. Julian's face went white. Then red. You. The apartment door burst open. Frank Morrison came in first, followed by 4 police officers. Julian Foster, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, wire fraud, and identity theft. Julian tried to run. One of the officers caught him easily, pulling his arms behind his back for handcuffs. This is insane. I didn't do anything. You literally just confessed, Frank said dryly. They read Julian his rights while he shouted about entrapment and illegal recordings. Simone stood against the wall and watched her husband be arrested in their kitchen. Is Veronica Blake in custody? She asked Diane, who'd entered behind the officers. Being arrested as we speak. We hit her apartment at the same time. Julian's eyes locked on Simone as they led him toward the door. You'll regret this. You think you're the hero? You're just a vindictive. Careful, Frank interrupted. That recording is still running. Don't add threatening a witness to your charges. They took him away. The apartment fell silent except for the sound of Simone's breathing. Her legs gave out suddenly. She sat down hard on the kitchen floor. Diane crouched beside her. You did it? You got him. I got him, Simone echoed. She started laughing and couldn't stop. Then the laughter turned to tears. It's okay, Diane said, putting an arm around her shoulders. It's over now. It's over. But it wasn't over. Not really. The trial was coming. The public exposure. The embarrassment of having to admit she'd been fooled so completely. Still, sitting on her kitchen floor with her lawyer's arm around her, Simone felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Relief. The trial began 6 months later on a crisp autumn morning. Simone walked up the courthouse steps wearing a navy suit and her mother's pearl necklace. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. She kept her head high and said nothing. Inside, the courtroom was packed. Diane sat at the prosecution table with the district attorney, Mitchell Brooks, a serious man in his 50s who'd handled dozens of white-collar crime cases. Julian sat at the defense table with his expensive lawyer, Bernard Price, who specialized in defending wealthy criminals. Veronica Blake had a separate trial scheduled for next month. She tried to flip on Julian, offering testimony in exchange for a lighter sentence, but there wasn't much she could add that the prosecution didn't already have. The judge was Honorable Patricia Kim, known for her no-nonsense approach and stiff sentences for financial crimes. Simone took her seat in the gallery between Gabrielle and Naomi. They each squeezed one of her hands. "All rise," the bailiff announced. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The prosecution's case was devastating. On day 1, they played the recording from Simone's wedding day. Julian and Veronica's voices filled the courtroom. Julian's face remained expressionless, but Simone saw him flinch when Veronica said, "She's a trusting fool." On day 2 they brought in the financial expert. Charts and graphs showed the flow of money, from Gabrielle's accounts to Julian's offshore holdings. From Naomi's investments to untraceable accounts in the Caymans. The pattern was clear and damning. Days 3 through 5 belonged to the victims. Gabrielle testified first. She told her story calmly, professionally. Described meeting Julian at the tech conference. The whirlwind romance. The fake business opportunity. When she explained how she'd almost lost her house because of the debt he'd left her with, several jurors looked angry. Naomi went next. She cried on the stand while describing how Julian had convinced her to sign over access to her late grandmother's trust fund. "He said we were building a future together," she said. "He said he loved me." 3 more victims testified. Amanda from Chicago, who'd lost her life savings. Tessa from Denver, who'd been forced to declare bankruptcy. Brittany from Phoenix, who'd attempted suicide after losing everything. By the time Simone took the stand, the jury looked ready to convict without hearing another word. "Tell us about the day of your wedding," DeBrooke said gently. Simone took a breath and began. She described Gerald's warning. Hiding in the trunk. Overhearing the plan. The entire courtroom sat in silence as she spoke. "Why did you go through with the wedding?" Brooks asked. "Because I needed time. Time to gather evidence. Time to build a case. If I'd run, Julian would have disappeared and found another victim." "Did you love him?" "I thought I did. Now I realize I loved who I thought he was. The real Julian Foster is a stranger." Bernard Price, the defense attorney, tried to shake her testimony. "Isn't it true, Mrs. Foster, that you have a history of trust issues with men?" "Objection," Brooks said. "Relevance. Goes to her state of mind and possible motivation to fabricate." "Overruled, but make your point quickly, counsel," Judge Kim said. Price turned back to Simone. "You've been in therapy for anxiety and depression, haven't you?" "Yes. After my father died." "And isn't it possible that in your grief, you misinterpreted an innocent conversation? That you created a narrative in your mind that doesn't match reality?" Simone looked directly at the jury. "I didn't create anything. We have bank records showing he stole money. We have messages proving conspiracy with Veronica Blake. We have multiple victims with the same exact story. Unless we all hallucinated the same thing, your client is guilty." Several jurors nodded. Price tried a different approach. "But you did marry him. You spent 2 weeks on a honeymoon with him. If you really believed he was defrauding you, why didn't you go to the police immediately?" "Because I needed proof. And I needed to protect other women from becoming his next victims. Going to the police without evidence would have let him walk free." The jury seemed to respect that answer. On day 15, the defense called Julian to the stand. "Was a mistake. Mr. Foster, can you explain the recording from the wedding day?" Brooks asked on cross-examination. "It was taken out of context. Veronica and I were joking around." "Joking about stealing $8 million from your bride?" "It wasn't serious. It was just dark humor." "And the offshore accounts?" "For legitimate business purposes." "What business?" Julian hesitated. "Various consulting projects." "Name one." Another hesitation. I'd have to review my records." Brooks showed him documents. "These are your tax returns for the past 5 years. You've reported income of approximately $60,000 per year. Yet you have $4 million in offshore accounts. Can you explain that discrepancy?" There are privacy laws about offshore finances. There are also laws about tax evasion and money laundering, Mr. Foster." "Which are you claiming?" Julian's lawyer objected. The judge sustained it, but the damage was done. Julian looked like exactly what he was, a liar caught in his own lies. The prosecution's closing argument was powerful. Brooks stood before the jury and summarized the case. 10 women. 6 years. Over $8 million stolen. This isn't a case of he said, she said. This is a case of a criminal enterprise designed to prey on vulnerable women. Julian Foster is not a romantic who made mistakes. He's a predator who chose his victims carefully and executed a carefully planned fraud again and again. The defense's closing was weaker. Price tried to argue that love and money were complicated, that Julian had made some poor decisions but wasn't a criminal. The jury didn't look convinced. Deliberations lasted 7 hours. When the jury returned, the forewoman stood. On the count of conspiracy to commit fraud, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of wire fraud, guilty. On the count of identity theft, guilty. On the count of money laundering, guilty. Guilty on all 17 counts. Julian's face crumbled. His mother sobbed in the gallery. Simone sat perfectly still and felt something break open in her chest. Not happiness exactly, but justice. Finally, justice. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Judge Kim looked at Julian with cold eyes. Mr. Foster, you've committed terrible crimes against women who trusted you. You've shown no remorse. You've taken no responsibility. And the evidence shows you would have continued this behavior if you hadn't been caught. She sentenced him to 25 years in federal prison, no possibility of parole for 15 years. Additional restitution of $9 million to be split among the victims. As they led Julian away in handcuffs, he looked at Simone one last time. She met his gaze steadily. She didn't smile. Didn't gloat. Just watched as the man who'd tried to destroy her life was taken away to face the consequences of his choices. Outside the courthouse, Simone stood with Gabrielle, Naomi, and the other victims. Reporters surrounded them. "How do you feel?" someone shouted. Gabrielle spoke first. "Justice was served today. Not just for us, but for every woman who might have become his next victim." "What will you do now?" another reporter asked Simone. She thought about that. About the future that stretched ahead of her, no longer defined by betrayal but by possibility. "I'm going to help make sure this never happens to anyone else." That night, back in her apartment she'd moved out of the penthouse months ago, Simone sat with a glass of wine and looked at her phone. Messages from friends and family. Well wishes. Congratulations. One message stood out. It was from an unknown number. "Thank you. You saved my life." From a woman who almost said yes to Julian Foster last year. Simone stared at that message for a long time. Then she saved it. Because that was why she'd done this. Not for revenge, though that felt good. Not for justice, though that mattered. She'd done it so that woman, whoever she was, could live her life without becoming another statistic. Another victim. Another name on a list of women destroyed by Julian Foster. That was worth everything. 1 year after Julian's sentencing, Simone stood in a bright office space in downtown San Francisco. The walls were painted a soft blue. Large windows looked out over the bay. A bronze plaque by the door read, "The Courage Foundation Financial Literacy and Fraud Prevention for Women." "This is perfect," Gabrielle said, walking through the empty rooms. "You can fit conference rooms here, offices there, and a big common area for classes and support groups." Naomi was taking pictures with her phone. "It's beautiful, Simone. Your dad would be so proud." Simone felt tears prick her eyes. She'd used part of the restitution money, ironically, money Julian had stolen from her that the court had recovered, to start the foundation. The rest was split among the other victims, helping them rebuild their lives. "I want this to be a place where women feel safe," Simone said. "Where they can learn about protecting their finances, recognizing fraud, and recovering from financial abuse." Over the next 3 months they built the foundation from the ground up. Gabrielle handled the technology side, creating a secure website and database. Naomi managed operations. Simone served as executive director. They hired counselors who specialized in financial abuse, lawyers who'd work pro bono on fraud cases, financial advisors who'd teach women to protect their assets. And they created a hotline for women who suspected they were being scammed. The foundation launched on a sunny March morning. Press coverage was extensive. The story of the bride who'd taken down her con artist husband still captivated people. But more importantly, women started calling. The first caller was a woman named Brianna. "My boyfriend is pressuring me to add him to my bank account. We've only been dating 6 months. Something feels wrong, but I don't know." "Trust your instincts," Simone told her. "Can you come into the office? We have people who can help you verify his background and assess the situation." Brianna came in that afternoon. A background check revealed her boyfriend had 3 restraining orders from previous partners and a history of financial fraud. With the foundation's help, Brianna ended the relationship safely and pressed charges for attempted fraud. The calls kept coming. Women from across the country. Some were in immediate danger. Others were recovering from financial abuse. Many just wanted education on protecting themselves. Simone threw herself into the work. She gave talks at colleges and women's groups. She appeared on podcasts and news programs. She wrote articles about recognizing fraud red flags. Partners who isolate you from friends and family, who move the relationship too fast, who need financial help constantly, who have a pattern of failed businesses or mysterious income sources. 6 months after the foundation launched, Gabrielle walked into Simone's office with a laptop. "Look at this." It was an email from a woman in Seattle. "I almost got engaged to a man who told me the same exact story Julian Foster used. But I found your website and recognized the signs. I ended it before he could access my money. Thank you for saving me." Simone read the email 3 times. This was why she'd done this. This single woman, saved from years of financial and emotional devastation. How many more like her were out there? The foundation grew. They opened satellite offices in 3 other cities. They partnered with domestic violence organizations and law enforcement. They created online courses about financial literacy and fraud prevention. One afternoon, Diane Porter stopped by the office. She'd become not just Simone's lawyer but a friend. "I have someone I'd like you to meet." The someone was a woman in her 40s named Rebecca. She had a familiar look in her eyes, haunted but determined. Rebecca was engaged to a man who tried to steal her inheritance, Diane explained. "She discovered his plan and came to me. We just got him arrested." "I read about your foundation," Rebecca said to Simone. "I want to help. I'm a financial advisor. I could teach classes, help other women understand investment fraud." "We'd love to have you," Simone replied. Rebecca became the foundation's 5th employee. Then came Carmen, a former FBI agent who specialized in fraud cases. Then Tasha, a therapist who'd escaped financial abuse herself. Each woman brought skills and passion. Each one had a story. The foundation became more than an organization. It became a community. On the 1-year anniversary of the foundation's launch, they held a gala fundraiser. 200 people attended, donors, supporters, women they'd helped. Gabrielle gave a speech about overcoming victimhood. Naomi talked about the power of turning pain into purpose. Then Simone took the stage. She looked out at the crowd and saw so many faces she recognized. Women who'd survived. Women who'd rebuilt. Women who'd refused to let their stories end in tragedy. "A year ago I was angry," she began. "Angry at Julian Foster for what he'd done to me. Angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. Angry at a system that let men like him operate for years without consequence." The room was silent. That anger was valid. It's still valid. But I learned that anger alone isn't enough. We needed action. We needed to create something that would prevent others from going through what we went through. She gestured to the room. "This foundation has helped over 500 women this year. We've prevented an estimated $20 million in fraud. We've sent 7 men to prison for financial crimes. But more importantly, we've given women their power back." The applause was thunderous. After the event, Simone stood on the balcony of the venue with Gabrielle and Naomi. The San Francisco skyline glittered before them. "Remember when we first met?" Gabrielle asked. "In that house in Sausalito? We were all so broken." "We're still broken in some ways," Naomi said. "But we're healing. And we're helping others heal. We're survivors," Simone added. "And survivors are the strongest people in the world." They stood together in comfortable silence. 3 women who'd been victimized by the same man. 3 women who'd refused to let that define them. 3 women who'd turned their pain into power. Simone's phone buzzed. Another message through the foundation's hotline. "I think I'm being scammed. Can you help me?" "Always," Simone texted back. Then to her friends, "We have work to do." They went back inside together. There were more women to help. More frauds to prevent. More lives to save. And Simone had never felt more alive or more purposeful in her life. 3 years after her disastrous wedding, Simone woke up in her apartment to sunlight streaming through gauze curtains. Her bedroom was simple but elegant, white walls, minimal furniture, plants on every surface. So different from the penthouse she'd briefly shared with Julian. She made coffee and opened her laptop. The Courage Foundation's dashboard showed the metrics she reviewed every morning. New hotline calls, 12 overnight. Upcoming workshops, 5 this week. Women currently in emergency financial assistance programs, 34. Her phone rang. It was Bethany, her college roommate, who'd given that tear-filled toast at her wedding. They'd had a difficult year after Julian's arrest. Bethany felt guilty for not seeing the signs, and Simone had needed space from anyone who'd witnessed her humiliation. But they'd worked through it in therapy and rebuilt their friendship stronger than before. "Coffee this morning?" Bethany asked. "I have news." They met at their favorite cafe in the marina. Bethany was glowing. "I got the promotion. Senior partner." "That's amazing." Simone hugged her friend. "I'm so proud of you." "And you? How's the foundation?" "Growing. We're opening offices in 2 more cities this quarter. And I've been invited to speak at a national conference on financial crime prevention." "Look at you." Bethany smiled. "You turned the worst thing that ever happened to you into something incredible." Simone thought about that. "It's still hard sometimes. I still have moments where I can't believe I was so blind. But then I remember, I wasn't blind. I was trusting. And there's nothing wrong with that. He was just a very good liar." "Have you thought about dating again?" "Not really. I'm not ready." Simone sipped her coffee. "Maybe someday. Right now, I'm focused on the foundation and on myself. I'm learning to be happy alone." That afternoon, Simone taught a workshop at the foundation. 15 women sat in the bright conference room, ranging in age from 23 to 67. Some were there because they'd been scammed. Others were being cautious after bad relationships. A few just wanted financial education. "The most important thing," Simone told them, "is trusting your instincts. Something feels wrong, investigate. Ask questions. Do background checks. Protect your assets. And never, ever give anyone access to your money until you're absolutely certain of who they are." A woman in her 30s raised her hand. "But how do you balance being careful with being open to love?" "I don't want to be so paranoid that I push away good people." "Good people won't pressure you for money," Simone replied. "Good people will respect your boundaries. Take it slow. Real love waits. Scammers are always in a hurry." After the workshop, a young woman approached her. "Thank you for this. I was engaged to someone who kept asking to borrow her money. I broke it off last month, but I kept doubting myself. Hearing you speak made me realize I did the right thing. These moments made everything worthwhile." That evening, Simone attended a board meeting for the foundation. They'd expanded the board to include financial experts, law enforcement representatives, and survivors of financial abuse. The meeting focused on their next initiative, partnering with dating apps to add fraud prevention resources. "Many of these scammers operate online," Carmen explained. She'd become the foundation's director of investigations. "If we can catch them before they meet victims in person, we save everyone time and heartbreak." They approved the partnership. As the meeting ended, one of the board members, a venture capitalist named Helen, approached Simone. "I have a business proposition for you. Have you considered franchising the foundation's model?" "Franchising?" "Making it replicable across the country. Providing training and resources so that communities can set up their own branches. You'd maintain quality control but expand your reach exponentially." Simone was intrigued. "Let me think about it." She was still thinking about it when she got home. Her apartment felt peaceful. She decorated it herself, art from local galleries, books stacked on every surface, a reading nook by the window. This space was entirely hers. Her phone buzzed. A news alert: Veronica Blake sentenced to 15 years in similar fraud case. Veronica's trial had finally concluded. She'd been convicted on 12 counts related to her partnership with Julian and other schemes she'd run independently. Simone felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not vindication. Just a quiet acknowledgement that another chapter was closed. She thought about Julian sometimes. He was 7 years into his sentence, locked away in a federal prison in Pennsylvania. She'd heard through legal channels that he tried to appeal, claiming his rights had been violated. The appeal was denied. He tried to get his sentence reduced for good behavior. Also denied. Some of his old victims had reported that he tried to contact them through relatives, still claiming innocence, still trying to manipulate. Those attempts had violated his restraining orders and added time to his sentence. Simone had no contact with him and never would. That part of her life was over. Instead, she focused on what she was building. The foundation had helped over 2,000 women now. They'd prevented an estimated $60 million in fraud. They'd worked with law enforcement to arrest 37 different scammers. But more than the numbers, Simone loved the stories. The woman who'd learned to manage her own investments after years of letting her abusive ex-husband control everything. The college student who'd recognized her boyfriend's financial manipulation early and left before it got worse. The widow who'd almost fallen for a romance scam but called the hotline first. Each story was a victory. Each woman saved was a life preserved. On Saturday, Simone drove to Sausalito to have lunch with Gabrielle and Naomi. They tried to meet monthly, these three women whose lives had intersected through tragedy and transformed into something powerful. "I'm seeing someone," Naomi announced over seafood salads. "That's wonderful," Simone said. "Tell us about him." Her name is Paula. She owns a bookstore. We met at a friend's dinner party 6 months ago. 6 months? And you're just telling us now? Naomi blushed. I wanted to be sure it was real. After everything with Julian, I needed to trust my judgment again. But Paula is amazing. She's patient. She understands why I'm careful. And she's never once asked me about my finances. That's beautiful, Gabrielle said. She squeezed Naomi's hand. You deserve that. What about you, Gabrielle? Naomi asked. Anyone special? I'm taking a break from dating entirely. Focusing on work and myself. Maybe eventually, but not now. They talked about their lives, their work, their dreams. Three women who'd been connected by pain but had chosen to build something better. As they were leaving the restaurant, a woman stopped Simone. You're Simone Henderson, aren't you? From the foundation? Yes. I just wanted to say thank you. Your TED Talk about recognizing financial fraud saved me from a terrible situation. You're doing important work. After the woman left, Gabrielle turned to Simone. That must happen a lot. Sometimes. It's always strange. You're famous now. The woman who brought down the charming con artist. I don't think of it that way. I just think of myself as someone who had a choice. Let the betrayal destroy me or use it to protect others. I chose protection. Driving home, Simone thought about her life. She'd lost so much, her faith in love, her trust in people, her innocence. But she'd gained so much too: purpose, strength, community. She wasn't the same woman who'd hidden in the trunk of that limousine 3 years ago. That woman had been trusting to the point of naivety. This woman was cautious but not closed off. Careful but not cynical. Strong but still capable of softness. That evening she wrote in her journal, a practice her therapist had encouraged, I'm happy. Not the delirious, complicated happiness I thought I had with Julian. Real happiness. The kind that comes from knowing yourself and building a life that matters. The kind that doesn't depend on anyone else to validate it. She closed the journal and looked out her window at the city lights. Tomorrow she'd teach another workshop. Next week she'd speak at that conference. Next month the foundation would open 2 new locations. Her life wasn't what she'd planned. But it was meaningful. It was powerful. It was hers. And that was more than enough. 5 years after her wedding day, Simone walked into a corporate office building in downtown San Francisco. She was there to meet with the CEO of a major tech company about partnering with the foundation to provide financial education to their employees. As she waited in the lobby, a man walked past. Tall, well-dressed, confident. Something about him looked familiar. He stopped, turned. Simone. She recognized him then. Michael Chin, Gabrielle's brother. She'd met him once at a foundation event 2 years ago. Michael, hi. What are you doing here? I work here. I'm the CFO. He smiled. What about you? She explained about the meeting. They talked for a few minutes, easy, comfortable conversation. When her meeting was called, Michael said, we should have coffee sometime. Catch up properly. I'd like that, Simone replied, surprised to find she meant it. The meeting went well. The tech company committed to bringing foundation workshops to all their offices nationwide. It was the foundation's biggest partnership yet. That evening, Simone had dinner with her mother. Patricia had struggled after Julian's arrest, blaming herself for not seeing the signs, for encouraging the marriage. They'd worked through it together in family therapy. You look happy, Patricia observed over salmon and asparagus. I am happy. The foundation? Partially. But also just life. I like who I am now. I like what I'm building. Your father would be so proud of you. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. I'm so proud of you. You took something terrible and created something beautiful. I had help. Gabrielle and Naomi and everyone at the foundation. But you were the one who chose to fight back. You could have just divorced him and moved on. Instead, you made sure he'd never hurt anyone again. Simone thought about that. I needed justice. Not just for me but for all of us. Her phone buzzed. A text from Michael. Coffee this Saturday? There's a great place near the Embarcadero. She hesitated, then replied, sounds good. Saturday arrived bright and cool. Simone met Michael at the cafe he'd suggested. They got coffee and walked along the waterfront. "I remember your story," Michael said after a while. "What happened with your husband?" "Gabrielle told me some of it and I followed the trial coverage." "I'm sorry you went through that." "Thank you. It was difficult. But I'm okay now. More than okay from what I've heard. The foundation is impressive." They talked for hours. Michael was easy to talk to, funny, intelligent, genuinely interested in her work. He told her about his own life. His career in finance, his love of hiking, his recent divorce. "I was married for 3 years," he explained. "We wanted different things. She wanted to move to New York for her career. I wanted to stay here near family. We tried to make it work, but eventually we realized we'd be happier apart. It was amicable. That's rare. I was lucky. No children, no big assets to fight over. Just two people who cared about each other but weren't right together." He glanced at her. "I'm guessing your experience was different." "Very different." They continued walking. Simone found herself relaxing, enjoying his company. When he asked if she'd like to do this again, she said yes. Over the next few months they saw each other regularly. Coffee dates turned into dinner dates. Dinners turned into weekend hikes. They took it slow, Simone's insistence, and Michael respected it completely. "I'm not in a hurry," he told her one evening as they watched the sunset from Twin Peaks. "I like spending time with you. However much time you're comfortable with." That patience meant everything. The foundation continued to thrive. They now had offices in 12 cities. Their hotline received over 1,000 calls a month. They'd helped over 10,000 women. The franchising model Helen had suggested was working. Communities across the country were replicating their approach. Simone gave a keynote address at a national conference on financial crime. Standing before 500 law enforcement officers, prosecutors, and fraud prevention specialists, she shared her story and the foundation's work. "Financial abuse is insidious," she told them. "It doesn't leave physical bruises. It doesn't fit the narrative of what we think of as crime. But it destroys lives just as surely as any violence. And it's preventable if we give people the tools to recognize and stop it." The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. After the conference, a young woman approached her. "I'm a prosecutor in Atlanta. Your work inspired me to specialize in financial fraud cases. I just put away a man who'd been scamming elderly women. Your foundation's resources helped us build the case." These moments reminded Simone why she did this work. One afternoon, Gerald called. Her former driver had retired the previous year, moving to Oregon to be near his grandchildren. "I saw you on the news," he said, giving that big speech. "Miss Simone, I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done any of this without you, Gerald. You saved my life that day. You saved yourself. I just gave you a head start." They talked for an hour, catching up on life. Before hanging up, Gerald said, "Your father would be real proud of the woman you've become." "I hope so." That evening, Michael cooked dinner at his apartment. Simone arrived with wine and found him chopping vegetables in his kitchen, music playing. "This is nice," she said, meaning the scene, the comfort, the ease of being with someone who didn't demand anything she wasn't ready to give. "It is nice." He looked at her carefully. "Simone, I need to tell you something." Her stomach clenched. "Okay. I'm falling in love with you. And I know that's probably scary given what you've been through. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know how I feel." Simone set down her wine glass. Her heart was hammering, but not with fear. With possibility. "I'm falling for you too. And yes, it's scary. But it's also good. Really good." He crossed the kitchen and took her hands. "We can take this as slow as you need." "I know. That's part of why I trust you." They kissed and it felt like coming home. Not the desperate, urgent kisses she'd shared with Julian. This was soft, patient, real. On the 5-year anniversary of her wedding to Julian, Simone held a celebration at the foundation. Not for her anniversary, that would be perverse. But for the foundation's 5th year of operation. The office was packed with staff, volunteers, donors, and women they'd helped. Gabrielle gave a speech about resilience. Naomi announced that she and Paula were engaged. Carmen shared statistics about their impact: 23,000 women helped, $400 million in fraud prevented, 92 arrests made. Then Simone stood before the crowd. She'd prepared remarks, but looking at all those faces, women who'd survived, who'd rebuilt, who'd refused to let their stories end in defeat, she put her notes aside. 5 years ago today, I married a man who never loved me. He saw me as a target. A mark. Money to be stolen. She paused. I could have let that define me. I could have spent the rest of my life bitter and closed off and broken. The room was silent. But I had a choice. We all have that choice. When life breaks us, we can stay broken or we can forge ourselves into something stronger. I chose strength. And I didn't do it alone. She gestured to Gabrielle and Naomi. These women, my sisters in survival, showed me what was possible. Together, we built something that ensures other women won't face what we faced alone. And that's the best revenge I could imagine, not hurting the person who hurt me but preventing him from ever hurting anyone else. The applause was thunderous. When it died down, Simone added one more thing. Julian Foster is still in prison. He'll be there for many more years. Sometimes people ask if I think about him. The truth? I rarely do. Because my life isn't about him anymore. It's about me. About the women in this room. About the thousands we've helped and the thousands more we'll help in the future. That's what matters. Not the man who tried to destroy me, but the life I built from the ruins. Later, as the celebration wound down, Michael arrived. Simone had invited him, wanting him to see this part of her life. He'd met Gabrielle and Naomi before, but this was different, seeing the full scope of what she'd built. This is incredible, he said, looking around at the office, the people, the energy. You created all this from one terrible experience. Not just me. But yes, essentially. It makes me understand you better. Why you're so careful. Why trust is complicated for you. Does it bother you? That I'm still working through it? No. He took her hand. It makes me respect you more. You didn't let what happened make you bitter. You let it make you stronger and more compassionate. That's rare. Standing there in the Foundation's office, surrounded by people she'd helped and loved, with a man who respected her journey and was willing to walk beside her at whatever pace she needed, Simone felt something she hadn't felt in years. Complete happiness. Not the naive happiness of her life before Julian. Not the complicated, false happiness of her relationship with him. Real happiness. Earned happiness. The kind that comes from knowing yourself, protecting yourself, and building a life that means something. Her phone buzzed. An emergency call to the hotline, a woman in immediate danger from a partner who drained her accounts and was becoming violent. I have to take this, Simone told Michael. I know. He kissed her forehead. Go save someone. She answered the call, already walking toward her office. This is Simone. Tell me what's happening. Behind her, the celebration continued. Ahead of her, another woman needed help. Around her, a community she'd built from her own pain. This was her life now. Not perfect, not without scars, but meaningful, powerful, hers. And 5 years after hiding in the trunk of a car and having her world shattered, Simone Henderson was exactly where she was meant to be.